call the meeting to order, please, at 18:02. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Dan McCartan, would you please lead us? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. And if we all please remain standing for our lost fellow Buffalo firefighter today at that terrible fire on Main Street, and give our thoughts. Amen. And may we all stay safe out there. Okay, the minutes were sent by email. Is there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Okay, may I have a motion to approve? Dan McCartney and Crystal. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okie dokie. Correspondence. Ann, did you bring it with you or not? I got one here. You got one?
Just
Okay.
this one?
Yep, just that one.
Let's see, we have an application for membership from Robert Tatarka, an application for membership from Jeffrey Zagoda, another application from Alan McClellan, well, whatever.
McClellan.
A letter of resignation from Eric Burt, and a letter of new ownership from Hogan Willig from the Trevoron Law Agency.
Okay,
That's it.
okey dokey. And we'll move on to the treasurer's report. Madonna?
Okay. Not much activity since our last meeting. I did make a payment for the QuickBooks annual subscription, $160, but other than that, there's nothing really to report. Does anyone have any questions on what we've submitted?
Okay.
And I also included the accounting for the non-grant funded checking account that we had opened last year. The 2 deposits that were made from Twin City and Global Medical Response, AMR, and the expenditure was $1,314.55 for the annual January expense. There were some service charges that I noticed that M&T was charging, which they're going to be reimbursing us for. They were sending paper statements that I guess they're not sending anymore. So.
I didn't know there was a charge.
That I did not request, yeah, we didn't realize that.
Yeah, no, because I do believe she stated that there was no service charge
Right.
when we set up the account.
And I do have copies of all the expenditures that Mr. Gill had covered and was reimbursed for. I do have all of that, if anyone has any questions on that.
Okay. Any questions for Madonna? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the minutes? Okay, from Tom Barcy, thank you. And a second, please, from Christina. All in favor? Any opposed? Okie dokie. Okay, Medical Advisory Committee, not here, correct? Right? You would be the closest.
There was a meeting in January. I was not present. You would be the representative from our body to the REMAC as the chair.
Oh, I gotta pay attention to that then. Okie dokie. Bad chair.
Is anybody present for the REMAC meeting? I'm not aware of any interesting business.
Better, Rob?
We were in Long Island. There was some passionate discussion about something, I don't remember what it was.
There's a lot of discussion about medical control and the base stations.
Oh, yeah.
And how they were gonna handle that.
Okay,
That seemed to be the bulk of the meeting.
okay. We're on medical advisory. Greg, do you have anything to add in?
No.
That was a no?
That was no.
Okey dokey. Okay, anybody else have anything to add in regards to the REMAC? Okey dokey. Okay, just in time, Mr. Gill, New York State Council.
There was a number of things that went on. The council, they're looking to still looking at increasing reimbursement for classes taught. And the state stands by their testing group. If you've had any difficulties with getting testing and stuff, there's an email you can submit your concerns to, and they'll look at it. Mr. McMillan has resigned from the education department there, and he's moving on to the Office of the Aging, so I guess I'll see him again. Recent CON appeal for Allegheny County was overturned by the regional council. The state council overturned the regional council's determination and allowed the CON. The next meeting is May 8th and 9th, and I don't know if Mr. Brenner wants to talk about RS there, or?
I'm comfortable leaving it for new business if you are, because it'll be a little bit more work.
Good for me.
Yeah.
That is it for the SUMSCO. Next meeting I said is 8th and 9th of May.
Okay, just a little, any questions for Greg in regards to the SUMCO? Okay, and Jim and Greg, when you get a chance, don't forget to come up and sign your life away, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Okey dokey. Erie County, Greg, you're next on.
Still exists. We have a number of ENT classes scheduled, looking to schedule another ALS class. Last class completed and seems to have done fairly well. I'm believing it's almost, if not 100% passed. I'm not positive of who's tested. One of them. Okay, one of them. So we're doing pretty good with that class. COVID testing and vaccination is over as far as EMS is involved. Anything like that is available in the clinics for the county. I'm sure everybody's aware of the lost firefighter today at the City of Buffalo Fire on Main Street. So we'll just think about that. And also, we are scheduling an instructor update in a CLI class, in-person CLI class. I'll forward the dates. I seem to have gotten them on the agenda. I'll forward the dates for the minutes for you guys. And the Erie County is considering going into provide paramedic training, expanding from our ALS to paramedic training. Some of the reasons are the increased demand we see for paramedics, the number of medics that have been lost, paramedics that have been lost for career changes, looking for other types of employment. And we also believe that, considering the aging of some of the workforce that currently exists, that in a couple of years, I think you're going to see another somewhat exodus. We believe where we would like to do the program, it will be more of the northern Erie area, and we won't be treading on other catchment areas. But we're looking into that, and we would look for support from the council, possibly in a form of a letter to review it and apply for it.
Okay.
That's it for Erie County.
Okay, any questions for Greg regarding the Erie County report? Okey dokey, thank you, Greg. Okay, Bill Stryker for Wyoming County.
I have nothing new since the last meeting.
No,
Things are rolling.
Bill, can't be.
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay, any questions for Bill on nothing? Okay, we'll move on, thank you. Western New York Stress, we're back to Greg again.
Stress had 7 requests for group interventions in the last 2 months, but they also are seeing, I don't have a number, but they are seeing an increase in one-on-one requests, not group requests, which is an interesting thing that they're getting into over the recent couple of months. And also they relate to me that many times it has, the requests have to do with critical calls and dealing with the aftermath of a critical call. But recently they're seeing a lot of calls because of stress due to workload in the ambulance workplace, the fact that the reduction in membership, putting more pressure on those who are active, which has its deleterious effects to the family and et cetera. And also the increase in responsibilities in order to be a provider, whether it's certifications, recertifications, and other requirements. So it was kind of an interesting twist. They've never mentioned that before. In the past, it's always been some kind of, you know, a call or event that happened, but now it's starting to become a little more personal.
Okay, you were talking about a 101?
One-on-one.
One-on-one, okey dokey, thank you.
You have to understand my mom, man.
Thankfully, I got a translator next to me. Anything else on Western New York Stress, Greg?
That is it.
Okay, any questions? Okey dokey, thank you, Greg. Okay, we're heading into committee reports. Madonna with the budget.
Not much at this point to report. We still have quite a bit of money remaining in our budget. Nothing is over. No expenditures are over, and line items are over what was approved. The new contract year, our new fiscal year will start July 1st, so we will have to start considering a budget for that fiscal year. The budget committee should be getting together to put something together for the board's approval before July. Contacting committee members.
Okay,
Work
so
on that, so-
will you be able to have a budget available at the May meeting?
Was my question. If that's what the council would like, we could try to put something together for presentation to the board at the May meeting. If it goes into effect in July, I think that would make more sense.
Okay. Okay, anybody have any questions in regards to the budget committee? Okay, one thing that we did also bounce around, I do believe at the executive board meeting, was possibly providing additional support for the conference. Any conferences that are gonna be had in Wyoming or Erie counties in regards to either supporting salary for a speaker fees or also room rental, because we do believe that those might be acceptable expenditures.
I can also inquire as to whether or not Mr. Gill has a question.
Mr. Gill, thank
Well,
you.
that's the time of the thing you just brought up there. In addition to what we're looking into at Erie County is outreach to fire services, ambulance services in regards to esophageal and intestinal testing for cancer. We're looking to have a number of seminars, educational type experiences, and the goal with groups we've dealt with are to go out to the firehouses and actually meet with the people. So that's something that we're gonna try to do. I can give some more information on it. That could be something, I'm not sure if the council can sponsor, something like that. There's no charge for the presentation or the testing that's done. But it might be ancillary costs or contributions that the council might want to consider.
I believe the council, and Greg and Madonna, I believe the council can support any education that is open, provided we don't restrict attendance to the seminar or anything like that. That's always available to EMS providers in Wyoming.
If you're gonna restrict it to EMS providers.
EMS providers, yes.
Yeah, that's what the target area is. The incidence of esophageal colon cancer is typically higher in firefighters and to some degree to pre-hospital care people because of lifestyle.
You're fine. Did you sign up yet for the
And if we could get all the details
email?
together on that.
Okay,
we might be
then you're
looking
gonna need to
for,
talk to,
ask for
eventually.
approval before we go ahead with that.
I'll have that line for you next week.
Yep, very good. And if there's any other suggestions that anyone would have, I'm sure the committee or the council ultimately would consider what's appropriate and ask for approval. Any other ideas?
Just as an issue for budget, and I'm not sure if anybody has the current committee listings.
no, they're on my computer.
Okay, I bring it up for this reason. Our bylaws chair is just resigned. from
Yeah, I'm
council.
gonna be getting to that.
So bylaws needs to elect a new chair. We
Yes.
have a problem in the bylaws because our fiscal year in the bylaws is April 1st to March 31st.
Correct.
And our contract with the state creates a fiscal year that is.
Different, right.
July 1st.
Yes, we'll get to that.
You want to do bylaws?
Yeah, for
Okay.
bylaws, yes.
Sorry, I'll bring up bylaws.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. So hold on there, Brian. Okay? Chill, getting there. Okay, anything else for budget for Madonna? Okay, membership, Ann.
I turned the applications over to Christina.
Okay,
We have two new applicants from Erie County. And as Brian just mentioned, we did have a resignation for a full member, so it's my understanding we have one alternate spot open. However, both of these applicants are with the same fire company for which we already have a member in. So there's consideration of over populating the council with people from one agency. So that's as far as I got.
okay. Would anybody like to comment on that or add light to it or anything else? Okey dokey. I will say Madonna and I are from the same agency, Bliss, but again, Wyoming County, you know, we got more cows than people, so unless we accept cows in here, you're gonna be stuck with who you get from us. That will be up for the council. It would be good to have some discussion on this point about, you know, how many people do we want from one particular fire department or agency, EMS agency, in order to have people on the council. Yes, sir.
I have a question. Are these applications to join this group?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We're from Colden.
You're from Colden.
Yes.
Welcome from Colden.
Thank you.
Over the hill and down the ways.
Yes. So how would we apply to become part of this group?
Online.
Okay.
On the Wyoming-Erie Regional Emergency Medical Services Council website. Did you get all that now? Or talk to this lady here. She's the membership chair.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I'll throw you under the bus anytime I can, Ann. And what is the council's thought in regards to a number of members, people applying from one department?
Well, since they're all from the same county, right, how many members we have from each county, even though we've got all the alternates in Erie now, right? So we have a total of 16 in Erie, 17. And we're
17,
talking,
13.
okay, and we're talking about bringing 3 in, so they're gonna be 18% of a vote. Ish, not good at math.
So, a couple things for consideration. One is this should be defined by the bylaws. Two is, I believe there is a draft set of bylaws that's gonna deal with membership roles as not just counties, but roles within counties and roles within agencies and stuff like that. So obviously we need to get that from, the bylaws committee, and I don't know where that draft stands.
We'll get there.
And then just disclosure, in terms of applicants. I know one of them is also a Twin City Ambulance employee, which would make 3 Twin City Ambulance employees for the council, with Sean, me, and then Jeff as an applicant. So just disclosure and consideration. Each council right now, or each county right now has 13 members. Then we have 4 alternates. Alternates are not permitted to vote unless there is an absence of a regular member. So our maximum votes in any meeting are 26. So whatever participation would look like out of 26 would constitute that participation from any agency or oversight body. I'm not expressing an opinion as to whether it should be regulated or not, just, saying for the purpose of discussion, it would be out of 26 total votes. And I think, in my opinion, it should be a bylaws issue, that bylaws should address it.
Okay, so, yes, sir.
In bylaws, does the alternate member automatically get a spot that opens when it opens, or is that something that needs to be accepted into a?
I'm gonna refer to a member of the bylaws committee.
The alternates are put in the position of when I receive the application, and yes, as soon as there's an opening, they are moved up to fill that spot that was vacated.
Okay, so if that person
In
was
order.
the 4th individual from the same fire company, that there would be no debate, they would automatically get that position.
As it stands right now, yes.
Yeah. The bylaws right now, for those who do not know, are mainly in opposition to the way we operate. And we operate this way out of necessity and out of practicality. However, the bylaws were written, and Greg, our historian, please correct me if I am incorrect, but they were developed to make sure that there was equal representation from the both counties versus Erie County being overrepresented due to population and Wyoming County being underrepresented down to population. We do have individuals currently on the rolls that are gonna need to make a decision, or the executive board is gonna be making a decision and removing them from the rolls due to them not showing up, and actually no reply, no communication from them whatsoever. We do have a number. There are some from Erie County, more from Wyoming County, or about the same? About the same, okay, about the same. For a little bit of clarity. So we will have some more openings opening up eventually, but again, you know, it's a new work in progress is what it is. Right?
Your recollection is correct. Our goal was to keep the numbers of votes equal, even though the population didn't reflect it. Can we table the applications until we have time for the?
Would you like to make that a motion?
I'm trying to figure out the wording of it.
Well, you make a motion to table the applications for Zagoda and McClenathan?
Clenathan.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion to
Till
table
the
the
next-
applications until the bylaw committee has a chance to meet and address the bylaw.
okay. Do we have a second? Tom, maximum. Okay, right? I'm not used to you being out of a uniform and having facial hair. Okay, so all in favor of this motion? Okay, any opposed? And I should have asked beforehand, is there any abstaining due to conflict? In regards to what Brian was saying with the number of Twin City employees, we also have the same issue with Monroe from Wyoming County. I mean, it's Dan Rogers, me, Tim Shaw, Jim Hammond. So there's 4 of us currently on the council from one paid agency. Different, you know, volunteer agencies. So, and I came in under Bliss, so I tend to more represent Bliss. So it's just kind of the way that I look at it. So without, and I do realize I am a Monroe and they do provide a paycheck for me. Yes, sir.
I'm the first to, Grassino and think it is a conspiracy. But just to give the nature of our business and the fact that, how close we are, how everybody works for everybody. I think everybody here has worked for somebody here or whatever. And the bylaws committee, I think can take that into account when they deal with it. And the fact that there are a couple of different categories that individuals can fill. So just because you're an employee of one agency, it doesn't mean that you can't be another category or something like that. And we just deal with the integrity of the person when they come here. If it looks like there's something going on, then there's always the parking lot.
Yep. So probably our most unbiased member is Mr. Rob Tatarkin, because he doesn't belong to any agency, so. And he hasn't ever been in EMS, have you?
Nope.
Nope, see, so he's probably our most, and citizen members are welcome on this committee. I mean, on this council. There is nothing beholding, keeping a citizen member. Okay, anything more on membership?
I believe with the resignation of Mr. Burt, that opens 1 regular seat, and I move whomever is the most senior alternate move into the regular seat.
That'd be Ken Peterson.
Ken Peterson as the alternate moves to the regular seat is my motion then.
Does that conflict with the current list that you made about attendance?
We haven't taken any action on that yet.
Yeah.
Until we do something with it.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. I have a motion on the floor to move Ken Peterson from an alternate to a regular membership. Do I have a second? Crystal? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Okey dokey. Any other thing for membership? Okay, so Systems Committee, Brian Balmer. Do we want to do, I'll let you depend if you, I always say your name
Can
wrong.
we issue a list of phonetic spellings for surnames? 'Cause I don't think we've heard one correct yet.
Well, we have, I call Mr. Major, Mr. Major.
Go with the-
We've already addressed that.
Congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
You'll just have to take me in a room all by yourself, Brian, and make me learn how to say your name
So
correctly.
as reported in our January
Should be
meeting,
on
the Wyoming County submitted for review and approval by this body its mutual aid plan. The Systems Committee met on February 1st with Wyoming County, and Mr. Stryker is a member of both the Systems Committee and obviously the Wyoming County Emergency Services. And we reviewed the application. We gave some feedback as a committee to Wyoming County, who made some, I would say, non-substantive, really just some editing for continuity and flow changes and resubmitted to the committee. The committee then reviewed again on, I believe it was February 13th. Bill, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's pretty close.
Okay. And voted unanimously to bring forward a seconded motion to this body to approve the mutual aid plan as proposed and authorize our chair to sign that plan on behalf of this body. So I bring that forward as a seconded motion for consideration by this council.
Okay, do I have a second to the motion?
It's already a seconded motion.
It's already seconded motion, okey dokey. Okay, is there any questions? Any discussion? Okay, is there any conflicts? Bill Stryker has a conflict, would you please state why?
Conflict of interest.
Because you made it, because you wrote it?
I was involved with it, yeah.
Okay, we have one conflict. So, all in favor? Any opposed? One abstain? One abstain. Okay, that motion passes then.
And just as a comment to Bill and his team, very well done. And thanks for that work. And anybody who's looking for an outline for mutual aid or, you know, some of the language that'll help navigate some of the current Article 30 policy statement stuff, I would either call Bill or foil the document from us and we'll produce it, because don't reinvent the wheel.
Okay, Ed?
If I could ask that the council or the county, please provide a copy to the Bureau so we have it on file that it's an approved mutual aid agreement. Appreciate it so much.
That would
Okay, Bill?
be the next step in the process for the council after we sign it.
Okay, I got the thumbs up from behind you 2 rows.
That's all from systems.
Okay, that's all from systems? Okay. Training and education is Chris Zumrek. He is unable to be here tonight. Does anybody else have anything to add in regards to training and ed? No? Yes, sir.
I've got a question about it.
Sir.
So, Colin, I sent the application in for the iGel airway pilot. I think I sent it to the right place.
That would be UBMD.
No, actually, I sent it to the website on the bottom of the application. Do I need to send it to you?
We'll be talking about that.
Okay, good.
We'll be talking about that.
Good.
Okay.
It's on some validation.
Okay, that will be eventually coming in front of us, okay? Okay. Anything else for training and ed? Okay, bylaws. So, as was said, our chair, Mr. Burt Eric, he resigned. In regards, I stated at the last meeting and also at the executive meeting that I would attempt to contact our lawyer, Kevin Mahoney, and I did send an email. I received no reply back. But with the mess that Hogan Willing was in with a not pleasant action against them by one of their main partners being disbarred, I do believe, or suspended or whatever, I thought, well, maybe that's why he hasn't gotten back. I will step that up to call him and see if I can get a wiggle out of that one and see if I can get a response. Madonna, you're another individual who has stayed in contact with them. Have you heard anything? Or
Not in a while.
okay, or Brian?
I haven't heard anything, and, do you have any more information about that? Cause I haven't heard anything about it.
It's been in the, yeah, it's been in the Buffalo News. It was one of the primary, anybody remember that? It was one of the primaries.
I just Googled it, and it just said judge suspends law license of Hogan Willig founder Corey J. Hogan. I didn't read the article, but that was that much.
Yeah. I think it was a misappropriation of funds deal is what I think it was, but I may be wrong. So I will give another wiggle to that. Like Brian brought up earlier, the committee will have to choose a new chair or a new head, but that is in opposition to the bylaws, you were saying? No, that's not, okay. The committee will have to choose a new chair or a new head. So if your committee, right now as it stands, and I can pull the committee up on my computer because I do have that list, has enough people here, then I would suggest you kind of like have a meeting after the meeting and get her done. And get a new chair, and then we'll work from there.
Raise your hand if you're on the bylaws committee. I said, raise your hand if you're on the bylaws committee.
Weren't you Christina or no? No?
So it's just me and Crystal, I think.
I got a list right here.
I think, who's the list of the bylaws? I think it's Lanny, Brandon.
Here, read my access right here,
Brandon?
yeah. Yeah, there's no lines on this list.
Bronner? Yep. Hammond? Wrong one, sorry. Do you have a faster version, Carol?
I'm getting there. I
Rogers?
gotta find it.
Dan's here. Carol?
Yeah, I was on.
Crystal? Yogi? That's it. So all but 2 members are present, so we can just meet quickly afterwards.
Yep.
So Dan, Carol, Crystal, and me will meet afterwards. And anybody who's not currently serving on a committee that would like to be a member of the bylaws committee, we clearly need a new chair, we need help.
Yeah, and like I said, I guess that has been in for quite a while. Eric said that it was placed in at least a good year ago, those bylaws into Kevin's office, so he definitely needs a jingle, and maybe what may have to happen is a letter from me stating such to the primaries, in regards to it, but I'll try a telephone call first. Any other comment or discussion on bylaws? Okey dokey. Yep, Greg.
I'm a pain.
No, you're just
I'll leave it
cute.
to the more learned people in the room here, but, the whole thing about abstaining, for a vote, all right, I'm confused on it. If there's no fiduciary or any money that's involved in it, I mean, for somebody to have to abstain, I don't know if it's the appropriate thing, because in a affirmative vote, that's a no, all right? And, I think as far as a conflict of interest, and, I mean, you know better, the conflict of interest, you declare your conflict, and then the body has an opportunity to say, get out. But if you're a elected or a true member of a committee, you have the right to vote. And I'll just leave it with that. You guys can decide in bylaws, but I just feel bad that it is, if it was a close vote, by declaring I wrote part of it, you could lose. And so I just, if the bylaws could just make it through.
He makes a very good point, and these councils are made up of people who represent lots of different interests. And in that makeup, I think it was contemplated that there would be situations that arose where something like that could exist. And the point Greg's making, a fiduciary interest. You know, Brian votes on Twin City things, I vote on AMR things, neither of us has ownership stake in the company. We put it out there, just like Greg said, to say, I want you to know that this is my role at Twin City or my role at AMR, and I'm gonna vote and do what we do. And we have that happen all the time with CON stuff that comes up. You disclose it, you put it out there, and then you make a decision. And something as innocuous as this, absolutely Bill did the work on it, that's his job in the county. But to Greg's point, Bill is a bona fide member of this council. His concepts, his ideas, his thoughts are gonna benefit the council and the communities we serve. And to force him into an abstention there, and I hate to agree with you, Greg, I really do.
That's what I said.
And
4 words.
And I agree with you. I leave it up to the individual with their ethical and moral decision as to how they want to do it, and if they wish to abstain because of it, that is their decision. It's, you know, it's totally up. I'm the chair of the planning board for the town of Eagle, so trust me, though, that's lawsuit waiting to happen with the planning board. And so therefore, it is allowed. I mean, it is. I agree with you, unless it is a fiduciary concern, that there really is no reason to, but if that individual wishes to abstain, and fortunately we had enough votes to be able to take an abstain vote, we have enough people here, that's up to them. That's their ethical decision, so.
The disclosure should take place. It is important to note that Robert's rules, as well as what we're dealing with in Article 30, absolutely contemplates this occurring. The person should disclose any perception of conflict or possible conflict, and it's up to the body then to offer some ethical guidance or direction. But as a regular member, it's not just Bill's right to vote, it's his responsibility to vote. He has that responsibility as a member of this body, and he has that responsibility to all of the residents and people who receive EMS in Wyoming-Erie counties. So, not taking a shot at you, Bill. Always appreciate you trying to do the right thing.
So you agree with me too?
Let's just say I'm
I'm
disagreeing.
living on a high note.
Let's just say I'm disagreeing with you in an unusual way. How's that?
Write a calendar and mark it.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, we should stick to the practice when making the disclosure. This isn't a bylaws issue, this is an ethics issue, and this is a Robert's Rules issue, and both seem permissible as far as my exposure and experience goes, and I think everybody else is voicing that same position.
Okey dokey. Well, it's your floor again, Greg, because it's awards and PR time, which I
Oh,
forgot
yes.
last meeting, so at least I didn't forget
It's
you.
coming down to awards time again, and I used, I don't know, my authority and got Mr. Stryker involved. And he's been working on a location, because we'd like to go back to alternate counties again, so this would be Wyoming counties, and I could let you talk about it if you don't mind. Pretty about it.
Okay, so we're looking for a venue, and we're looking towards being a fire station base like the one we did last year. Seemed to work out very well. We just work with a local caterer or the fire department if they do the catering
Good coming in.
in-house. So, looking at the dates, potential dates, our regular meeting would be September 6th, which is a Wednesday. Or, what we did last year is we moved it back to August 30th last year. So, it's up to this body if we want to do it August 30th, which is Wednesday, or August 31st, which is Thursday, and change the meeting around, or
That would be amazing.
both, up to this body. as far as I'm
Well, as per history, maybe we should just consult with Madonna to find out which is available for her so that she can actually attend for once. So that makes Greg Gill happy.
Should I clarify that, or just let them all think?
The
I
sixth.
have been to more than I have missed over the years.
The 6th is awfully, again, close to 4th of July, and I personally would push for the,
September.
September.
oh, September 6th.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he said July. See, I'm way back.
August 30th or.
Okay, 9/6. Okay, never mind, never mind.
The applications for the awards have to be in Albany, July 1st.
Okay,
So that means I need them at least 3 weeks before. I'll give you a hard date when the local applications have to be submitted, but I have to have them in Albany by July 1st.
okay. So rather than 4th of July, we're crowding Labor Day here, but, so what is the council's pleasure? August 31st or September the 6th?
Maybe after the holiday?
August.
I
August?
think August is better.
I hear a nod back there.
We can do it Wednesday or Thursday, it doesn't matter. Wednesday's the 30th, the 31st is Thursday.
Okay.
Is anybody opposed to sticking to Wednesday? It's our usual meeting night,
Usual
since we're
meeting
sticking to
night.
that. So Bill, did you make a motion to have the awards dinner on August 30th?
Yes, I do make that motion.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for August the 30th, 2023 for the awards banquet to be held somewhere in Wyoming County. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay.
We need submissions. There's too much good going on out there that we're not acknowledging. I'm not sure if that was a complete sentence or an appropriate format, but there's too much good going on out there, and we're just not recognizing what's out there. So
Okay.
everybody here should commit themselves to at least submit one.
Okay, Rob, would you throw out email on that, please?
We were gonna ask what we can do to support you.
Okay, thank you. It would be good if you could send out an email. Okay, that sounds good.
Pretty much, what dates do you want those letters back by, Greg? We should definitely,
Let me,
for our council, this council.
for the council, well, if it's gonna be, if I have to have them there by July, 31st, I need to have them for our committee at least 3 weeks prior, because that gives us a week to meet and talk about it. So what's 3 weeks prior to July?
How about the July meeting?
July meeting, that's good for me.
Are we having a meeting?
Well,
one
it
of
would
the
be
awards
only
due to New York
executive
State,
board.
Isn't that May?
But
One of the awards to the New York State, isn't that May?
I have to get them to New York State by July 31st for the, because they're given out at the October vital signs.
Okay.
Thing.
So 3 weeks beforehand is for, our meeting date is June the 7th. For a Wednesday, the first Wednesday in June for the executive board meeting.
All right.
So how about May 15th, so Greg's committee has time to review?
Okay.
So May 15th, then you can bring it to the council on June 7th, right?
Is that acceptable for you, Greg?
That's good for me, I'm thrilled.
Okay.
Use it as standard New York State submission form.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great for me.
Okay. Okay, anything else? For awards? Oh,
In the past, we've had considerable generous support from Twin City and AMR. We do have some funds in the account right now that we'd like to take those and apply, which last year we had talked about it, and seemed to be positive about that. And if I get philanthropic, we'll come back to you again. But I think we might have enough to cover this year.
Split it?
What's that?
Split it?
Sure.
Thank you.
We'll support overages if you need to.
okay,
Thanks for asking.
yep.
Thanks for reminding me.
Okay, Madonna, can you just state that amount right now
For the
off of
amount
that?
that's remaining,
Yeah,
$1,179.45.
Okay.
Plus $6 that they're going to, the bank should reimburse.
We could buy 40 acres out of Wyoming County for that.
okay, anything else?
That's it, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Greg. New York State Department of Health, Mr. Major.
Okay, Bureau staff is out conducting full service inspections. We're sort of ramping up those activities that have been somewhat backlogged. They do remain backlogged, but we're making decent progress related to full service inspections. I'll just note that there's several policy statements that have been updated. Scope of practice came out, which is 2307. 2306 is oxygen tanks as far as hydrostatic test dates. 2305 is removal of the endotracheal intubation from AEMT, and then some collaborative protocol changes, and also the iGel project. I just checked with Albany on Colvin. It hasn't come to the state. It goes through the process of sort of Rob and I talked about it there, but it has not gotten back to our office through the internal process from the submission. I would say that if you're not familiar with our updated forms page that is on our website, if you go to New York State UH EMS and in the upper left-hand corner is forms. We're taking all sorts of forms, move them to electronic, including agency renewals, controlled substance renewals. We're going to be having some controlled substance renewal process starting in April, which will be less, unless there's changes to some of the operations plan, hospital supplier agreement, agent, and that kind of stuff. We're reducing the number of forms that will be required for that, but all that information will come out on the portal as the submissions go forward. So obviously I know you're going to talk about Part S, I'm not going to go into that, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them from either operational or Western Region perspective. So thank you.
Okay, any questions for Ed Major? Okey dokey. Okay, I see I'm up next with Executive Board. I forgot I have to do that. We had a quick Executive Board meeting last month, and it was quick because a lot of other people were headed to a particular meeting held by a particular person. Catholic Health, that's what I kept on saying. And so anyways, it was a quick meeting, but among the items that we discussed was membership and the individuals that have not been. We decided what we're gonna be doing is a questionnaire in regarding when is a good time to meet. And Rob will be, I'll be formatting that with Rob very shortly in the future, and it'll be coming out via Microsoft what? Forms. Okay, so please, please try to fill that out when it does come through your email, and so that we can get that and get ideas as to what may or may not work better for individuals for attending these meetings. We do appreciate all that do attend our meetings. I already talked about bylaws. I was bad. I didn't do anything on committee assignments, so I need to get going on that. And I can't think of anything else we discussed. Anybody else who was at that meeting, can you think of anything else we discussed? iGels. Yes, we did. So we made a decision in regards to the iGels that the iGel applications that the council they'll be processed through UBMD, but that the council will be just reviewing them when they are complete via UBMD, and they can be approved at either the executive board meeting or the regular membership meeting, so as to not hold up those particular applications. We did at the executive board meeting approve one for Grand Island, but then Rob did notice a deficiency in that application, and it was addressed. I don't know, and I don't know where the status of that one is in, and if you want to leave that for your report, you can. Whatever. It'll be in 3 seconds. So that we did. So that is what we decided, is that we would like them just to be looked at by the committee once they've been reviewed by UBMD, and they will come through either the council or the executive board for approval to be moved on, so that those agencies can participate in the pilot program. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Now, program agency. There we go, sir.
So I apologize, please bear with me, I do have quite a bit tonight. So we'll just start off, since we keep hearing iGel, we'll start there. So a couple of things came to light for this iGel program. The first, and we're finding a lot of issues, particularly in Erie County. In order to participate in the iGel program, you have got to have approval for all BLS adjuncts. What's defined as that? Anything on the 4362 form must be authorized per the REMAC. The one question I did find out is it can either be syringe epi or EpiPens. It does not have to be both. But you need the Narcan, the CPAP, the BLS 12 lead, the albuterol, glucose. Every one of those that's on there has got to be approved. With that said, what had happened is Grand Island did not have approval for the BLS 12 lead, so I had to kick back their application to them. They're still working on making the decision whether they want to do it or not. Subsequently, we've had several other agencies express interest. We have informed them that they need to participate in all the BLS adjuncts. So some of those agencies are working towards getting REMAC approval. Once they do, hopefully at the next executive board meeting, we'll have a few applications. The closest one right now is actually Jameson Road. They do have approval for everything, but they have not submitted a letter of support from their medical director nor the policies. So once we receive those, we'll be able to forward that on. In addition to the application, you have to submit a letter of support and policies on your letterhead. We do have boilerplates, so if you reach out to us, we will send those. You can populate on your letterhead, fill out the information pertaining to your agency, and your software that you're using for EPCR, and then submit all 3 documents back to us, which we will forward to the council on your behalf. If there are any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to either myself or Mike, and we'll be happy to help you with that process. We do support it. We'd like to see involvement from the region, so the only other caveat is it's not available to BLSFRs. Right? So if you're a BLSFR entity, you cannot participate.
No, that's first responder. In other words, you don't run an ambulance.
Rob, did they decide if any specific instructor level is required for the training piece? Like when they rolled out CPAP and 12 leads?
They did not specify anything. I think as long as you're able to teach high jump or the super gloves, then that's acceptable. They actually have their own training that they send you. In addition, there's actually an additional component that covers the capnography portion of that as well. And then as far as the skills, the only thing is as long as you're qualified to do it on your own, such as advanced or above, you can sign off on the skills as far as I know.
You can. You can sign off on it.
I believe so. I can get clarification if you want, but I'm pretty sure. Well, I will say, we did try to go to bat with Hudson Valley at the last state meeting and saying, well, not everybody carries a $40,000 monitor, and they said, sorry, too bad. So, we attempted.
Okay. Okay, Rob, one of the Colden gentlemen have a
Yes.
question.
So, we have all these in place that you just mentioned about the CPAP and the 12 lead EKG and stuff. We are a department of 5 people.
Okay.
So, in order to get proper training, could I reach out to the training officer at Orchard Park? Or,
Sure.
I mean, to check us off that we're doing this right before we actually.
You do, Steve. You do, Steve.
Brian?
So the policy, in response to Emily's question, the policy requires CIC, CLI, or medical director to deliver the training. So it is state certification. I don't know if the
Not the remake.
CIC, CLI, or physician medical director.
So our medical director could sign us off.
Yes, your medical director can sign you off. And it appears the medical director may be able to approve additional training officers, but I'll leave that up to them. It's important for you gentlemen and everybody else. Nobody in this room has control over these parameters. This is a demonstration project proposed by Hudson Valley, approved by New York State, and then made available to everybody. But we have to comply with the rules that were created in the proposal. So that's what's behind it, and why Rob's advocating for, justifiably, having agencies that don't have some of these expensive equipment have eligibility to enroll. That's limited by the project proposal that is downstate. We can blame every problem we have on downstate, it just works that way.
We understand that the answer was probably gonna be no, but if you don't ask, you never know. So we tried, but that was the response that we got.
Okay. Dan McCartan?
No, I was agreeing with Brian.
Oh, okay.
The other thing was, I was just gonna, Rob, could you maybe blast out that, is it 04, what's the policy number, do you know?
Yes, I do. It is 2301.
Can we blast out 2301 and the boilerplates you have, saying here's some good examples, if you're applying, this might help?
And the form is sort of like underneath it, so the
Yeah.
application, so you just gotta kind of like include it in the policy.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Okay. I would suggest the gentleman from Colden that you talk to Rob afterwards about specifics if you have any.
Yeah, because the form that I filled out was 1 page. I got the medical director to sign it, and then I was trying to figure out who to send it to, because it said regional representative. At that point, I had no idea who that was, so anyway, I forwarded it to Hudson Valley and
Oh.
haven't heard anything back from them.
I'm really surprised they didn't kick it back, so.
We'll probably get that.
We'll take care of you after the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, Rob.
So a couple of things. I know a while back, my predecessor and Mike they had done some rebranding for you guys that you had already paid for, right? I brought examples of those rebrandings. What we are asking of the council is to consider maybe the possibility of rebranding yourselves. One of the reasons is we want to fluff your website up a little bit, and additionally to that, we want to request the permission to be able to add your branding to some of the recruitment stuff that we've got going out, which leads me into the recruitment. We've created a recruitment webpage as well as a recruitment Facebook page, and we're really starting to push hard on that. We have seen a little bit of movement, some participation going on. We're really trying to push that even harder, because that's really what it's going to start boiling down to, especially if Part S goes through. It's going to be really one of the forefront things. So I brought examples. If you'd like, I have some, probably 10 copies I can share. You guys can discuss it after this. Whether you want to maybe rebrand, not rebrand, it entirely up to you guys. But,
Sounds like a good idea.
and then as I kind of pass them out, with that,
Here, I'll just leave one for the table, and then you can put the rest out there if you want.
there's about 10 copies, so unfortunately not one for everyone.
I like the first one.
Today, we just had a conversation with CipherWorks. If you know, CipherWorks is the LMS system for both New York State and UVR. And we are in the process of creating our own LMS system here within both the Wyoming-Erie region and the Big Lakes region. This will give us more content control to add stuff from the region. It will also roll out so that agencies can have some content control within their own organization. And I think one of the biggest things about the new LMS system that we're going with is if you keep track of all the training in the LMS system for each provider, at the very end you can download the New York State CME recertification form, and it will put all the training in the slots that it needs to go. We feel that this was the best option to go with, so we're moving forward with that. And we've been talking to Mike, so we're going to be doing a lot of rebranding of our own website and adding stuff, taking some unnecessary stuff away. So the information on the LMS will be put up on there eventually. HCS, I know we've been talking about moving.
Can you state what HCS stands for?
Sorry, the Health Commerce System, which is what holds all the information on every EMT here in New York State. It's how we verify New York State's certification cards. Within the last year, it moved to, you're now able to go on HCS and get your own cards. The state has rolled out their policy, which I think was towards the end of last year, regarding this. We want to make at least one person at every agency a coordinator. That allows that person to make every person in their agency a user, so that everyone can have access to their cards. Within the last 2 weeks, it actually just came out that that process to make everyone a coordinator is super easy now. Before, we had to actually fill out a form, we had to mail it to you because they wanted original signatures. You had to get it notarized, then mail it to the state. Well, they moved to a paperless system now. So if you're going to be the coordinator at your agency, please reach out to either myself or Mike so we can make that occur. Right?
If you already have a login, do you still have to reach out to you?
Are you a coordinator or are you a user?
I'm a coordinator.
If you're already a coordinator, I don't need to talk to you. If you're just a user, that's good,
Well, I
because
was-
then I can just transfer it.
Yeah, I was designated for our agency.
So, no, you were an agency user.
Oh,
So
okay.
now you need to be elevated to a coordinator level, so you can add users into the
So
system.
just email you?
Yep, just shoot me an email, Tom. We talked a little bit about the recruitment. I have flyers up here. Feel free to take them, put them up in your fire hall. It also has our website on here, and the Facebook is the same, right? Recruit EMS, what's her name? That's one of our biggest things that we're working on. Two more things. At the end of the month, I've been informed by the data and informatics team, specifically Peter Brody, that ESO, upper level management from ESO is coming out to New York State to sit down with ESO clients. There's been a lot of, if you're not familiar, there's been a lot of issues going on with ESO right now. With that said, they want to sit down with agencies and have that open discussion so you can blame them, beat them up, do whatever. What I'm gonna be looking for is I'm gonna be looking for a somewhat centralized location that can hold probably, let's say anywhere from 30 to 40 people. For that meeting, it's scheduled to be the 31st. Unfortunately, right now, it's scheduled in the morning. I'm trying to get it moved to the night, because I think there's gonna be better participation. So if you know the location that's sort of centrally located between Erie, Wyoming, and Niagara County, that would be great. I'd like to hear from you. Again, it's on the 31st, which is like a Wednesday, maybe a Thursday.
Of March?
Yes.
Friday.
Or it's a Friday, of course. So night would be perfect, great. Let me know, I'll try to work on getting that date moved, because I don't think a Friday night's gonna work, so. Lastly, we had, some submissions for course sponsors, some classes that are coming up that we wanted to share. As we do get notified of them. LaSalle did submit for a EMT original that's going on, or will be going on soon. Erie County has submitted for, I think you guys submitted for 4, haven't you? One in Farnham and one at the training center. Well, community original and refresher.
Lancaster, I think.
And there was a Lancaster one. And then there was, Ann has submitted for a CME Core sponsor, CME Core content. And lastly, Hamburg has submitted for their refresher. So those are the only ones that we've gotten notified of so far for this semester. So, that's all.
Okay. Okay, any questions for Rob?
Thanks, Rob. One, can you send the branding and recruiting by email to all the council for those members who aren't here tonight, so that everybody can see it and do that? The class notifications, I don't know if Training Ed's able to access those. Can you, when you get those, can you share them with Training Ed, please?
I can, as soon as I have a list of who's on the Training Ed, absolutely.
Chris is our chair, so if you can at least send it to
Yeah.
Chris, let him disseminate it.
Sure.
We'd appreciate that. And, I guess a motion make a motion for the council to ask, that you post all New York State approved courses to our website, so we can get the distribution on that as well.
Sure.
But I'm leaving that up to the body, so I'm making a motion for a second, not asking you to do that unless they approve it. Second.
Okay, got the motion and the second? Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Okey dokey. And that is passed. Okay. Any other questions for Rob? Greg?
In regards to the rebranding and stuff, do you think that our budget, considering the fact that we can't really spend it on anything that's, worthwhile for the council, do you think there's a line in there that we could use, not only for the rebranding, but help out branding? I think probably the community doesn't really even know that we exist, or what the purpose is. Maybe we need, in time for EMS week, a campaign to bring to attention a lot of things. One, the existence of the council, what the council does, the need for volunteers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that there's a line there somewhere that we could possibly sculpt? Don't have to decide today, but I mean, today's March. Before you know it, it'll be May.
Education and
Put on
training,
EMS with probably the best.
recruitment and retention.
Yeah, recruitment and retention.
You can't get trained as a kid when you're like that, but possibly getting an organization, instead of doing it ourselves, an organization to put together a program for us.
So in 2021, we had a motion, a second, and a unanimous vote to put forward an amount not to exceed $1,500 for the purpose of recruitment, retention, and education at the time of EMS week. I don't know that any of that was spent, but we had the motion and it was approved, so it depends on how much of a fight we want to have with New York State and whether they get to control our budget or not. Ultimately, they give us our money, so whether they get to actually control our budget or they're just not going to pay us, same effect.
You're probably not gonna get any resistance with recruitment and retention.
I don't think so either, especially given the tone that's there, so. We already have an approval to make that, by this body, to make that a line item, so unless you wanna change the amount, we're approved for $1,500, you just ask the Madonna submit that for the state to thumbs up it and go from there.
But I'm also thinking that it's not just recruitment. We have an organization who puts together a plan or program for us and executes it. I mean, the body here doesn't have the time to put together a plan, execute it in time for EMS week. I think if we could find some kind of public relations agency or something like that to do it, and that's gonna be a bit more than $1,500. Crickets. Okay, next.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Okey dokey.
Is that something the awards and PR committee could,
I was gonna go there,
Get-
Brian, but I was keeping my mouth quiet.
The committee would love to look into that. Nice one. I haven't played tennis in years.
Okay, moving on, old business, we already took care of the Wyoming County Mutual Aid Agreement. I've already discussed everything else that I put down underneath. So does anybody else have any other old business that we need to conduct? That pops in their brains. Okay, new business. So what we have is this wonderful, I'll hit into the meat first. Or do you want to do the simple one first? Simple or hard?
Meat.
Meat, okay. So, Article 30, Part S. Prior to, Chris forwarded out all the guts in regards to that, and the New York State Volunteer Ambulance, oh, I only got the thing, I don't have the front page, well, whatever they are, that organization. What their response was, thank you, New York State Volunteer Ambulance and Rescue Association, and then also what the Regional Emergency Medical Services Council of New York City also said, and then also the changes of the law. What I received a phone call from Ed Major this afternoon and discussed life with him in the parking lot of Market on the Square in West Seneca. And basically he patched in on a conference call Steve DeJura, I gotta see it written down so I don't phonetically kill it, who is the Assistant Director of the Bureau of EMS. And I just would like to give their position on it first and what they were trying to do. As I stated, I'm not trying to push the council one way or the other way. What I am trying to do is to present information, and then I'll also let then Brian speak as to his knowledge and his reading of it. I did scan over the 15 pages of the of the Part S. However, I did not thoroughly sit down, read it, and absorb it. I will make that disclosure that. But basically what they stated is that they have no desire to get rid of the regional councils. So they have no desire, but what they want to do is to create these districts in regards, and the districts would follow the model of the COVID districts that were done by DOH for the positives and the negatives. For our particular council, that'll create a interesting combination because Wyoming County's in the Finger Lakes district and Erie County is not in the Finger Lakes district. I only paid attention to the Finger Lakes district because that's where I live. So, which I brought up, and he said, well, that won't be a problem. This regional board, it will have members that are approved by the commissioner. There will be an application process, but the individuals will be approved by the commissioners, which could make it very possibly make it a political process. I expressed a great deal of concern in regards to adding another layer of government, didn't I?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, another layer of government and thing. He stated that the reason for these medical districts is because that provides a funding stream for EMS in order to, quote unquote, hold on, I'll find where I wrote down, for system stabilization and sustainability. Because that is what the Bureau of EMS is looking to do in regards to all of this. What he said repeatedly is that EMS agencies that are having trouble with maintaining an ambulance service, that they would provide through these medical districts supplemental funding in order to encourage them to stay in business versus going out of business. We did have a great deal of discussion in regards to the CONs, or certificates of needs. And this moves the CON process to the state council. Their reasoning behind that is 40% of them are appealed anyways because of the administrative law judge opinion, which we as a council have experienced. And so therefore it might as well just go straight to the state council. And to which I stated I did not like that idea. I felt that that local import is needed because we know better what's going on in our counties than what another does. And we needed to be better cognizant of that, and that at least the application should come before the councils beforehand, before going to the state council, for review and a recommendation of passing or not passing. Again, like I says, I was not speaking for the council, I'm speaking for, as the chair of the council, but again, the council can totally override me if they think. He also stated about, here you go, Bill, a comprehensive EMS plan that you now gotta write up, which would incorporate your mutual aid agreement and everything else in the world. And by incorporating a mutual aid plan into one, all mutual aid stuff or EMS stuff into one plan, then we're gonna go to a regional plan because, of course, are you listening to this, Greg? Greg?
No, I'm FaceTiming.
No, stop, Greg. Stop, Greg. This has to do with you, Greg. Then we're gonna go to a regional plan to look at deficiency to lack of services, to which I said, that's all fine and wonderful. How do you compare Erie County to Wyoming County, where Wyoming County has more cows than people? To which he says, I come from Westmoreland. We have more cows than people there. I'm like, well, whatever. So anyways, it also will create a standards, standards concerning the process of all of this. He would like the council to wait until next week to make a decision, which then I said, well, then that puts us into April. And that is after when the budget, the governor's budget is supposed to be, approved. But there are gonna be informational sessions Wednesday through Friday where everybody can submit their questions and listen to what the Bureau of EMS, and he would highly appreciate it if we could wait until then to make a decision. Did I do good, Ed?
I think the messaging is that, the opportunity for questions and answers and, information sharing in these sessions that are directed towards the councils, towards EMS leadership and those kind of things will occur next week. And, I want to be very, very clear that there was no attempt to sway a decision or anything like that. It's just a matter of saying, there's a lot of information here, there's a lot of good things for the systems, there's certainly things that people likely have concerns or questions over. We want them to be, to get all the information and to be able to answer, have their questions answered, and basically assess it from that point of, here's the information sessions that would be available, make sure that there is a common theme, opportunity for questions and answers, and to go forward from there. So really that was sort of the messaging to say, to consider that. It's entirely up to the council. It was not an attempt to pressure or, you know what I mean, it was just basically.
Well, he did specifically state that before you write out a negative letter, please listen to the information sessions. He did specifically state that during the conversation, correct?
Yes, yeah, I mean, his message was to say, hey, we understand that there's concern.
But just don't come out
Wanna make
saying
sure you have
no.
all the information.
Yeah.
So-
So I'll hand
And
it.
the timing, he certainly talked about the timing, and he made that very point about, hey, it's not optimal because the meeting is tonight, the meetings are next week, and there's already a lot of information that's been shared through other agencies and that kind of stuff, and there's and the New York City Council and other components, so just be clear about that. So other than that, there was nothing else discussed that I could recall.
Okay, now I'm gonna hand it over to Brian.
So, before I get to my opinion points, I just want to go through a couple of factual points. Number one, this is the second time that amendments to Article 30 have appeared in the executive budget in 2 consecutive budgets. The executive budget process is not open to public comment. It does not go through the same process as the changes to statute and regulation that normally occur where there's a period of public comment. All of us get to weigh in, then the decision is made by the legislature. This passes in the dead of night like so many things happen. I'm gonna make it a statement of fact. Anybody can disagree with me. Ed Major's a good guy. I don't know Steve that well, so I won't comment. So while I don't blame them, I will say this, what they say is not fact. What the law says, and this is an amendment to the law, is fact. So their statements about what they will and won't do aren't really relevant. It's what can they do, and what does the law permit them to do. And this law changes a lot of things. Changes to this law, one thing for us that's really significant, it would make the commissioner choose our physician representative to the WEREMSCO. We would no longer nominate. That's eliminated from the law. We wouldn't pick our physician representative. Seems a little ridiculous, doesn't seem like something has to change. That's my opinion. So as you go through this, I think there is a misconception about the regional districts replacing regional EMS councils. I don't think that is the intent. I think the intent is to completely bypass regional EMS councils and a number of other things. And if you look at the language, again, I'm making clear this is my opinion. I am not making a statement of fact here. But based on the language, 3033 is the proposed change. And if you read it, it says, the Regional Emergency Medical Services District means a special district. A special district as defined in section whatever of the tax law for the, this is it, for the purpose of ensuring the essential services, emergency medical care, coordinating emergency medical system within the district, and providing when needed emergency medical services on a regional basis, either directly or through contract with, but not limited to, a whole bunch of people. That language permits the state, with reporting only to the Bureau, to operationalize an EMS service across 10 districts, completely bypassing the counties, the regions, and existing services. And that is in the proposal to the law. So it doesn't matter what people tell us is there, we need to read it. It is plain language, it's clear what's there. There's a number of other changes, including core sponsors who just announced didn't have geographic boundaries, now in this proposal have geographic boundaries. There's a number of internal inconsistencies. The WEREMSCO being responsible for determinations of public need is an amendment that does not consider our roles and responsibilities under Article 3003, where we are still responsible for determinations of public need. If this law were to pass as written, that's an internal inconsistency that is incredibly problematic. Right? The last thing I'll say about it before I turn it over, or I'll say two more things.
You can say 10.
This doesn't need to go through the dark. This can be public comment. This can be a lively discussion. This can be all of us involved as absolutely diverse and engaged stakeholders. The SEMSCO heard this. The SEMSCO's position was absolutely not on regional districts, but everything else can go through. I don't know that the SEMSCO read the comprehensive document. There's a lot of flip-flops where previously the SEMSCO had a responsibility or an authority. Now that's been shifted to the department or the commissioner, creating a approval or a consultation with the SEMSCO. Through COVID and everything else, I'm comfortable saying that this is my opinion, but generally, when a power is taken by the government, it is not given back to the people. If we let this happen, we're gonna have less say in our EMS system, we're gonna have less say in the function of our state. Authority and decision-making is gonna be consolidated in a non-participative representative branch of the government in the department at the discretion of the commissioner. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't voice opposition to this and tell our representatives in the legislature and the assembly and the governor's office, don't do this. Take the time to hear our opinion, take the time to work with experts, take the time to make meaningful change that has the input of all of the diverse regions of this state. What's good in Buffalo is not good in Long Island, is not good in Mountain Lakes. They are different systems. So my position, 100%, this doesn't need to happen now. There is an emergency in this state, there's an emergency in EMS, but that emergency is largely born of underfunding and over-regulation. More regulations does not solve that problem. That's my piece.
Okay, yes. Dan, I think, got there before Tom did. I
I'll
think.
concur with Brian, I'm coming at this from a different perspective. So with COVID, when they put the vaccine hubs under, used the IDA boundaries, basically by doing that, Albany destroyed decades of work done in the state. As an example, the 8 counties of Western New York, the Western New York Public Health Alliance, mutual aid agreements, the hospitals, the health departments, Finger Lakes, the same thing. Literally, the groups of folks that had prepared, planned, trained for exactly the scenario that we faced with COVID were then like, no, we're not using this, it's in the books, like literally the preparedness plans in the books that the Office of Health Emergency Preparedness in Albany had prepared with us. Toss them out the window, in comes the IDA run configuration. Having been one of the logistics folks for that vaccine hub, getting pulled into it with my colleague from Clyda, I can tell you it was an absolute mess. It was a reprehensible, absolute mess that was going on at UB. The IDA has nothing to do with this.
Okay, please define the IDA for people that do.
The Industrial Development Agency, the boundaries, all right?
So they're
no.
following an economic versus a health-based.
Yes, yes. And as you pointed out, because of the way they draw those boxes, their boxes are not the same as Ed's boxes for the Western region. You know, they have, they're split, like, literally, like you said, splitting us apart. Yet we're right next to each other and can drive golf balls back and forth across the county line. I concur that, there are a couple of good points in here about funding for recruitment and things. Yes, curiously, they're now talking about licensure versus certification. And obviously, having taken my RN boards and having my license and taking those exams, that kind of takes things to a whole different level. So there's some good pieces in there. But specifically with that whole other layer of minutia in there, essentially that they can control from Albany, I think that we should seriously consider the letters that were written and the attachments that came with it. Obviously, the folks in the other places, they read it, you know, they got sections highlighted and marks and all kinds of things in there, and they're like, you know, there is some good stuff in here. But there's some other stuff in here that absolutely, I think it's a step backwards, not a step forward.
Okay. Tom?
I agree with everything that's been said, especially Ed's a good guy. Ed is doing his job, he's
Yes.
taking his notes, he's doing everything he's supposed to do. Here are the points though. Number one, why does one person wanna seize all this power?
Yes.
The commissioner, whatever. Anytime you concentrate power and decision-making authority, the decisions get worse. Decisions need to be made where the expertise is, and when the makers of that decision live with the consequences of the decision, number one. Number two, whether it's Troy or New York City, they don't care about the 8 counties of western New York. We
No.
are an afterthought to everybody. The reason these councils were started in the first place was to put this authority where it needs to be, with the people who are gonna live with the circumstances created by the decisions. Absolutely. Number three, if somebody said to you, we should just move this up because 40% of them get appealed anyway, you should get a video or an audio recording of that. That's like saying, we think Brian Bronner is guilty, let's forget about the trial, let's forget about the appeals process and put him in the electric chair today. That is the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And I think we need to write a very strongly worded letter in absolute opposition to this immediately. And we don't need any question and answer session to hear any more stuff like you were told today. That's reprehensible.
One thing I did state when I had the meeting with them, because for those of you that don't know, Dan Rogers, you can close your ears. I worked for 33 years as field force for the New York State veterinary team out of the Department of Ag and Markets in disease control. So I am well aware of how Albany views Western New York and how we're treated out here and how we're ignored out here. And Ed, I saw you nod your head, so you do too. So anyways. I just saw that one little oops down and I caught it, Ed, you're busted. So anyways, and I did bring that up in my conversation with Ed and the assistant director. And I says, you know, your decisions tend to benefit the major of the population base down in downstate and Long Island. I says, hence the EMS billing law that was done down there that discriminates against the rural communities. I says, granted, that's general municipal law, it's not DOH law, but that, I am totally on board with that. I just wanted to present to you in an unbiased way as possible, as much unbiased way as possible, what my conversation with them is. I too have many concerns regarding this but prescribed by the commissioner, appointed by the commissioner, unfortunately, that tends to be normal language in state law, unfortunately. But again, I don't like the fact that this 5-member board that's gonna be in the district is gonna be only 5 people. And again, this council is gonna be split apart by 2 different districts. Logistically, I think that's gonna be a nightmare, number one. Because our district says this, well, our district says that type of a deal. And I do not agree with that whatsoever, and that will be a strong point. Okay, anybody else? Brian?
Well, I think that the more I hear about it, the more concerned I am that on the eve of a discussion by an independent party at WEREMSCO, the associate director or deputy director of the bureau called in an attempt to influence the discussion.
Oh, I caught that, don't worry.
And the behavior of this body. No, it's a legitimate issue.
Yeah.
That call should not have taken place.
Absolutely.
No offense to you, Ed. That call should not have taken place. It is wildly inappropriate. Our deliberation should not be colored by the opinion of that party or of the Bureau of EMS, and further illustrates why we should not be consolidating power there. While it might be the language that a commissioner has authority in New York State law, it's not the language in New York State public health law, then why are we moving away from something that we've operated under for 40 years? The law needs to change, but it cannot be more overregulation than underfunding. I move that this body ask the chair to write a strongly worded letter to the governor, to the members of the Senate and Assembly health bodies, and to our representatives from Erie and Wyoming County, absolutely encouraging they take a position against this bill in the budget, And that if Article 30 is to change, we do it through a comment period in the legislative process.
Okay, is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay, I saw, are you seconding, Heather?
I think Heather was actually first.
Yeah, Heather was
I
first.
was seconding it.
Okay, you're seconding it,
She was the
okay.
first second.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were.
She's younger than us, she moves quick.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for a letter to be drafted by me in regards to opposition to the Article 30 Part S changes that are proposed by
Just so you
the,
know, proper reference is the executive budget part S.
yes, executive budget Part S, yes, I was gonna say executive budget eventually. So, it was getting there. So anyways, okay, Heather,
I just wanted to add too, coming from the little people here, as a lot of people know, Tom Perry Ambulance has only been open for less than 5 years. And it took a long time for us to build up the reputation that we have. It took a long time for us to get to advanced. I can't thank you enough, Ed, I can't thank Bill enough for everything. I mean, if I screw up and call them, hey, I screwed up, these guys are here to help us. In my opinion, if I lose that, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and all of my information comes from these guys, especially you when it comes to state comptroller or anything like that. We lose that, and I have a feeling the way I read it, we're gonna start going down that path where us little guys aren't gonna have anyone that has the knowledge, like we have a one-on-one, we know each other. And I'm terrified of losing that. It took us a long time to get where we're at in Perry, and I don't wanna lose that. And we're not for profit, so I can't imagine being a volunteer ambulance at this point with that proposal. So even if you wanna add something in there for the little guy even, I thought I was gonna throw away that.
okay.
So.
Any
We're
other
gonna lose that contact.
questions or comments? Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a comment. I'm new to New York. I've been here 5 years. I've been an EMT in New York for 3 years. And this conversation scares the crap out of me. I've come to recognize that New York City controls the rest of the state, which also terrifies me. I fully support the strongest written letter to the powers that be that this is just a bad idea. It is hard enough to get members. As I said, we have a squad of 5 people. I'm the second youngest.
Nothing against.
We're trying to get a compression device. When I saw this program for the IGL, I'm thinking, we can keep somebody alive long enough to get them down to Springville, where they have ACLS drugs. I know the policy says transport them to the closest cath lab facility. That is 45 minutes from us. But between the compression device and the ability to put in an IGL airway, we can get somebody alive to a hospital and give them ACLS drugs and then call the helicopter, which is right behind their hospital. But this whole conversation is scary.
And that's why we all have to stand up for what we believe in here.
Okay, Greg?
Most of what I want to say has already been said in some form or another, and I commend the review and everybody's position here. The biggest concern I had about this, oddly enough, was the fact that when the WEREMSCO was asked to vote on it, some of the justification of voting now and voting forward was the fact that this is the second time changes have been included in the budget, and it might not happen again, which, to use your word, that's not a reason to do it. But so it was almost like it was a threat tactic that get what you can and just take it. And that was probably one of the more concerning things that I experienced out there. But everything else you said was 100% accurate.
We hope it doesn't happen again, Greg. That's the point.
Well,
if we can kill it
You go
twice,
Pete.
we shouldn't face it.
You're fine, I'll
well, what I'm
catch
saying,
up.
any additions to the budgets or any input that we have to the budget will be looked at again because we had two bites of the apple. In that sense.
I just want to ask the youngster behind you, you moved here on purpose?
I'm the only native North Carolinian to ever retire and move to New York.
We usually go the other way.
I did a job in Buffalo, that's how we got up here.
We appreciate your tax donation, sir.
Okay, Jim, hold on a second, Tom, I got you. Jim, you had
I'm
your,
just curious, maybe there's scuttlebutt or rumors, even, like, if there's any other regional councils that had a chance to really go through this and also have the same.
there is a
hearing.
letter that was forwarded to email that Chris forwarded to all of the council from New York City
Right.
opposing it.
Right, but I was just wondering, especially if we could, the possibility of coordinating with, I'm just afraid, like, if we're the only council that, you know, and our illustrious governor looks at it and just shreds it.
Well, we're not the only one because we'll be number 2.
Right.
But it doesn't bother me to put my name to a letter such as that.
Right, but I mean, see, if we could, like, example, big lakes, just because, you know, I'm looking around. Yeah,
Yeah.
collaborate as far
I
as.
can tell you that
If they, we send ours in on Monday, they get theirs on a Tuesday and kind of go from there.
Big Lakes is of like mind and has all of these materials in their hand. I think their executive body's gonna have to act. I don't think that they have a committee meeting in time for the larger, or a council meeting for the larger council. But Big Lakes is of a like mind. WEREMSCO having a similar conversation, Southern Tier, similar conversation, CNY, similar conversation, Mountain Lake, similar conversation. This is going on around the state. In everybody's position that I'm hearing, and I understand that this is just word of mouth to you, but everybody's position that I'm hearing is even more extreme than what was voted on at the WEREMSCO, which is all of this is bad. There's too much nuanced change. We need to not do this in a way that's gonna be problematic. We need to do this with full transparency and full involvement. And that's everybody's message on backing out of it. The United New York Nurses Association, NICENA, is against this. The United New York Ambulance Network is against this, taking a position. We heard from NICEVERA. We expect to hear from IAFF and FASNY on this. I don't know of any body, barring one program agency voice out of the Syracuse area, that supports it.
Okay, Rob, did I see motion from you? No? Okay. Bill?
You know, this is pretty serious, we got a month to work on this. We need to take a quick, fast approach to it, and hard approach, and contact all our representatives. I know, associations like FASNY and Chiefs, they have a mechanism electronically to notify your elected officials of their feelings and stuff like that. So, again, we gotta make sure it gets out to the men and women with boots on the ground and get that message to their elected representatives so that they can take it to look. There's a lot, I've been down around quite a few times the last few weeks, and there's a lot of things going on down there. And as was mentioned earlier, it's gonna get pushed and signed at 3 o'clock in the morning when everybody's sitting the whole process.
Bill, you were part of the white papers, weren't you?
No, I was asked to sit on one meeting because the other gentleman was on vacation.
Okay. I was just curious if this was a topic at all during the,
I just said it one meeting, I read part
oh,
of it.
you were, okay. So, was this a topic at all during the white papers?
So, the history of this started with the executive budget for 2023, which was released in late January, beginning of February 2022. Everybody and their brother took a position of opposition on this, whether it was killed by the strong position of the New York State Nurses Association, the insurance lobbies, or EMS itself. Nobody actually knows, but it came out of the budget. Once it came out of the budget, WEREMSCO formed a technical advisory group as a subgroup of the systems and legislative committees. It was a group of, I think 8 or 9 people. Ultimately wrote a revision of Part F from the 23 budget that said, you know what, there's some good stuff here. We just want to make sure that the stakeholders stay involved and that the authority stays with the WEREMSCO. That was returned through WEREMSCO to the director to forward to the executive budget process. Some of that is in this, except for they switch the roles of WEREMSCO and the commissioner, or WEREMSCO and the partner. Then the sustainability tag was meeting independent of this. I served on 2 of the subgroups of the sustainability tag, which was legislative affairs and operations. Other than the discussion about Part F, none of this came forward. No idea of regional councils was, to the best of my knowledge, broached with any stakeholder before this budget hit the floor. It just happened. And it's the second time that it's just happened. And I don't know how we can be any clearer other than involving every stakeholder in EMS and everybody that we know to say, you're not just gonna do this to us. We are gonna choose our own future, we are gonna choose our own fate. You are gonna hear us.
Okay. Any other questions or thing? Tom?
Just one comment, and I mean this half jokingly and half seriously. You know that this is a terrible issue if Gil Bronner and I all agree on it completely, right?
I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking the same thing, so.
One thing I will say that also came up is that the assistant director also stated that this was a path for licensure versus certification of EMTs across the board, to which I replied that in order for us to be taken seriously, that, you know, not seriously, but professionally as a, not only just as a career choice, but as a acknowledged, for being essential, that we really need to be switched over to the Board of Education, to the Department of Education for licensure, just like the medical doctors, nurses, veterinarians, vet techs, et cetera, are, massage therapists. They are all under the Department of Education, to which he replied, oh yeah, the Department of Education is looking to diverse themselves for that and push everybody over to the Department of Health, to which I said, yeah, veterinarians in the Department of Health, that'll never happen. So, that, just to give you that heads up of that with what is also. So.
Can I just clarify that? The deputy director of the Department of Health said to you, this is a good thing.
No, not of the Department of Health, of the Bureau of
Bureau of
EMS within the Department of
Okay.
Health.
Said to you, well, this is a path to licensure, so it's a good thing, so we should pass it.
Yeah, he said that licensure was
Right.
included in this.
So.
Am I
I've
incorrect?
got puppies and candy, get in the van.
Well, you know.
He was kidding, he was kidding.
Ed, am I incorrect by stating what he said?
It was a part of the conversation, the licensure. and-
Well, that's why it was at the end, because it was a part of. It's okay, you don't have to, I'm just stating that it was said, that's all.
To the chair, I want to apologize for being overly animated. This is a big issue.
That's okay, I
This
excuse
is a
my
big-
co-chair, Dan.
No, I was just gonna point out that one of the other reasons that they would like that is because all of us that are professionals that have initials at the end of our names, every few years, we have to send a nice check when we renew our licenses and payable to, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
Oh, I did it for many years as a vet tech, so I was the second licensing group of vet tech 000515. I'm like an old time Sharon Hoy, so there you go. You know, I understand completely. It is what it is. Any other comments or questions? Okay, then we shall do a vote. I think this would, which probably Ann will kill me, yep, an individual vote for those that are here. And again, does anybody have any conflicts that they would like to state prior to the vote? Okay, so as Ann calls your name, how do you want to do this? Do you want me to write it down?
You can just see if there's a dissenting vote, if there's no dissenting vote, you can assume that everybody here.
What's that?
Just ask if there's a dissenting vote, if there's nobody voting no, then we can just.
Save that 2 minutes.
Okay,
State it in the minutes that it's a unanimous vote.
okay. Do you,
Restate the motion and ask for opposition.
okay. Let's have the motion then as it is written. Ann, would you please read the motion?
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, the motion is the chair write a strong letter to the government, the Senate, and the Assembly health bodies, the Erie and Wyoming representatives. Opposition to the executive budget Part S and changes to Article 30 should be made by transparent process with full stakeholder,
Yep, you're fine.
involvement.
Okay, Governor. Was that correct? Okay. Is there any opposition to the letter being written? We shall then affirm that this is an affirmative vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, that is passed. Okay. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? Okay, real quick, the branding. We're not gonna vote on this yet, but please consider it, and we will be looking at it for the next meeting. Okey dokey? Okay, does anybody else have any new business? Yes, Dan?
All right, since we're definitely in favor of anything that we can do for recruitment and retention, I move that the council write a letter of support for Erie County's plan to expand their educational opportunities.
Hold on, I'm just letting her write the motion down, okay? I'm trying not to disturb her. Okay, so Dan McCartan has a motion for the council to write a letter of support for Erie County's program expansion. Do I have a second to the motion? Bill Stryker. He beat you, Heather. Is there any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Sponsor administrator, so.
Well, see now, and you were talking about the abstaining, no vote then. So that's a no vote then.
I didn't say no, I'm saying I have.
Okay, any opposed?
A possibly perceived.
Making a disclosure.
I know he's making his disclosure.
You should probably solicit them from everybody, because there's lots of people who have statements to make here.
Any other statements in regards to disclosure?
I'm a county instructor and training site center for them.
Okay. Anybody else?
I as well.
I as well? Okay.
I can fire them.
So that would be
Everybody.
Brian and then Sean Holtzman.
It wouldn't help you out any.
I do still intend to cast a vote, but just unless the council directs me otherwise.
Okay, so, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Greg, one abstain. Okay. Okay, letter number 3.
Excuse myself.
You made this great impassioned speech before and then did exactly the opposite.
I know, that was my point, Okay, Bill, you had your hand up earlier, right after Dan.
Same topic.
Okay, so, same topic, so we're good. Okay, any other new business? Ed, you held up well during our,
No problem.
you held up well.
Thank you.
You're welcome,
Fire
thank
in your
you.
car is just about out, so you can go home.
You got where we'll start?
Okay, then shall I entertain? Okay, and a second, okay, and everybody, please keep our Buffalo firefighting family in mind
Whoever's on the
during this
bylaws
tragic thing.
committee,
And who
can
hasn't
take
come
2
and
minutes.
signed in, Jim?